now we're getting into a rare area where we actually finished part of the movie and then cut it. That rarely happens. And this is a scene that you'll see is kind of remotely familiar. It's called Garbage Airlock, but you'll notice that Eve is playing Wally's role and Wally is playing Eve's role.
Wally. Directed.
Now, this was truly an 11th hour change. We had a screening in Portland, and sometimes you just don't get that objectivity you're looking for until you're watching it with an audience. And right at that moment when it came, it dawned on me that I had made a big mistake, and that Wally should really be the one that's hurt, not Eve. Eve was actually the one originally in this deleted scene where she's shocked by Otto. Wally never made it up to the room. He was climbing up the shaft, and she happened to fall on top of him, and then the two fell into the garbage airlock, and Mo happened to catch it as he was arriving to the trash chute, and then followed them in. And I realized that Act 3 really needed to be about everybody that Wally had affected coming together to finally express in some way, because I don't have dialogue, that her directives has changed. She now cares more about him than whatever her programming was telling her to do all along to that point. And this was a perfect way to do that. And the third win was that Wally would only come across more heroic if you thought he was weak and you weren't sure how much life he had left in him, and he was still going to stop this holodetector from going back into the deck of the ship. So it was just a win-win-win. And when you get an idea that's that obvious, then you beg your crew to move heaven and earth to change it. And so it's just one of those things where you just do what needs to be done. This is another deleted scene that was almost finished. It's called Dumped. And it's a moment that you'll recognize, but it's in a different location. So we'll show you that.
Eva. Caution, rogue robot. Caution, rogue robot. Eva. Caution, rogue robot.
And then realize, oh my gosh, you have it, and it didn't blow up with the pod, and so it's a moment that happens out in space now in the finished movie, and it happens much quicker. This used to be that the pod would explode, they'd fly around the ship, and then they went inside, and then this scene Dumped happened, and it was just that's the emotion that's driving it for Eve, is that she's so happy that things are going to go back to the way she wanted them.